everybody. Welcome back to our podcast. I am Althea Rain.
I'm Halo Smythe.
And Yuri Inoku.
And we are your hosts for Très Geek. An oldie but goodie. I know we're really late to the party on this, but this is a video that I've been wanting to do for a very long time. We're going to be tackling Buzzfeed's 36 questions women have for men. This is going to be a shit show.
Yeah. I'm a little scared. I'm so scared whenever I hear about Buzzfeed.
Yeah. Like, they have some good stuff, but other stuff are just like...
I'm gonna have to disagree with you, Yuri. I've never seen anything come out of Buzzfeed.
Oh, gosh.
How does it feel to be the same sex as Donald Trump?
I can ask the same question for you, lady. Like, how does it feel to be the same sex as Eileen Wuornos, who was a female serial killer of men? How does it feel like to be the same sex as Irma Gress, who was a female bad woman in a point in time who was actually put to death for crimes against humanity? How does it feel like to be the same gender as any particular bad person of your gender? It has nothing to
do in gender as Hillary Clinton.
Let's not forget these women were the ones supporting Hillary Clinton.
No.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They don't want you to say anything. Just saying.
So, I mean, because it's Donald Trump, it's suddenly a bad thing to be the same gender as him? Like, as if he's the one example of every man in history? Like, Albert Einstein was a guy. How does it feel to be the same sex as him? I would say pretty great, because he was a genius.
Mm-hmm.
It makes no sense.
That question was stupid.
It's like asking, what's it like to have 5 fingers? Hitler had 5 fingers.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Why do you hate rom-coms? Or do you just feel like you need to hate them?
Everybody likes The Notebook. Everybody likes Beyonce. It's just a fact.
No. That is not just a fact. I hate The Notebook. I'm not very particularly fond of Beyonce.
Yeah, I have never seen The Notebook. I have no desire to see The Notebook. I don't like rom-coms for the most part. There are a couple I like, but for the most part, I do not like rom-coms. And the rom-coms I do like, probably my boyfriend would like too. So
I mean, I like the old rom-coms, like the ones that were better than right now, because right now the rom-coms are pure trash.
Well, let's go back to the first question. Why do you feel the need to hate rom-coms? Well, why do you think that a man has to like rom-coms in order... I mean, it goes back to the diversity in our very brains. This is one of the biological difference between men and women. By and large, men do not like rom-coms. It's not their style of movie that they would rather watch. They would rather watch action films, horror films, films that have something going on. Rom-coms tend to be boring. Not to mention, rom-coms generally tend to set a very different expectation of men, of women, to what they should be looking for in a relationship. It's highly unrealistic.
It is.
Althea, are you telling me that no one has ever run through an airport to stop you from leaving?
Let's look at the proposal. Okay, I like the proposal.
But, the proposal is amazing. I like it.
Let's look at it realistically.
I've never seen this movie, so maybe you can give me a brief summary.
Okay, the proposal is basically about a woman, Sandra Bullock's character, who is very highly up the chain in a publishing company and can make sure your book either passes or fails.
Uh-huh.
And she's absolutely a total bitch of a human being.
Yes.
Like, she's so awful that her assistant, played by Ryan Reynolds, alerts everybody to when she's actually entering the building, just so that they can all make themselves look like she's working, so that the witch can pass by on her broom. And that is actually one of the ways that he describes her as. The witch is on her broom.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so bad that he gets the same exact type of coffee that she gets every morning, because in case his spills, he has a coffee to give her.
Okay.
She is awful.
Yeah.
And then she goes to a meeting with her bosses where they tell her that she's being deported because she disobeyed their orders when they told her not to go to this one event outside the country because she is Canadian working in an American office on a visa. And because she went outside the country to this other place, her visa got denied and she's going to have to go back to Canada for a time while she tries to get herself a new visa to come back here. They don't have the time to wait for her to get that visa, so they're going to be firing her and giving her job to a guy she just canned.
Wow.
So that's the whole premise of it. And in order to keep from being deported, she suddenly drops the bomb on them that she's going to be marrying her subordinate, Ryan Reynolds, who has not agreed to this at all, by the way. He has no idea she's about to. He has no idea she's about to announce that they're going to be married. Because if you get married on a visa, you can stay in the country, the green card way. But then they're going to have to.
She figures he'll do what he's a lapdog who
And-
a sim.
And she tells him
whatever she says.
Yeah, she flat out tells him the reason why he's going to do this is because, for better or worse, his wagon is attached to hers. She says, "Do you really think that Bob Spalding isn't going to fire you for having worked for me for as many years as you want? You want to be an editor. You want to know how you get to be an editor? We get a marriage. I can stay in this country, and then as many months or years as it takes for us, we can have a quickie divorce, and then you can become your editor." And he's like, "Okay, well, I'll do this on one exception. You make me editor now, not some kind of leeway. Now, the moment that we agree to this, you make me an editor."
Who wrote this movie? Harvey Weinstein?
I mean, imagine if you reverse the roles of this. And it was a man who did this to a woman. You'd have people screaming "Ree" louder than the people screamed "Ree" at Twilight.
Mm-hmm. Oh God, yeah.
But because Sandra Bullock does it to her subordinate, it's fine.
It's fine.
So, I mean, this is the kind of... Now, don't get me wrong. I think it's an amazing movie. I think it's funny as hell.
Yeah.
But it is absolutely, by far, unrealistic and would never happen in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
So...
I'm pretty sure that would get you in some deep
It would get
trouble.
yes. So
And what kind of company when like, oh yeah, your visa is all gone, so you'll be fired, and how would they know too? Like the hell.
So anyway, back to my point. Rom-coms, they tend to set unrealistic expectations for men and women in the dating world. A woman might see this movie and think, "Oh, that's so cute. I wish that kind of thing would happen to me." And then a guy wants to take him on a date. And let me tell you something. Before I was married, before I was even in my current relationship, I had never before been on a conventional date where a guy takes me to a dinner, gets me flowers, get me candy, does this, that, and another thing. I never had a conventional dating relationship where I went on these dates individually and nothing else happened. Like, most of my dates were, I'm just going to go and hang out at this person's house and we're going to spend the day together.
Exactly.
Most of my relationships started like we were friends, and then we're like, "Oh yeah, we really like each other. We should probably like be more than friends." And that's how that worked. I never went on traditional dates. I might go on dates with them at that point, but it's not like I met them by bumping into them in Central Park and going on a date with them. That's not how that worked.
Right.
I think that's why my husband, when he proposed to me, he did it in the kitchen of our home. And because he knew that if he were to do it on a freaking public place, I would beat the heck out of him. And I would say yes. And then I would beat the heck out of him. So it was so cute though. So yes, I don't specifically like that.
I specifically told my husband, I understand you want to propose to me, but let's do it in a park away from people. If you do that to me in a restaurant, I am not going to be happy with you.
Mm-hmm.
Die if that happened to me, like in a public place in front of people.
So really, back to the whole rom-com thing. I don't think that most men like rom-coms because they feel that they need to hate them. They don't like them because they're boring and they're just unrealistic. And
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of things that a man could do better with his time than sit down and watch a rom-com that's going to bore him to tears.
But
Agreed.
another thing I would ask, like, if this girl were to ask someone in front of me, I would be like, then why is it that you have to like rom-coms? Like, not all women like rom-coms. Why
Yeah,
do
you've got 3 women right here who generally don't like rom-coms.
And if there's a good rom-com, it's like I can count them with the fingers on my hand. Like, it's not a lot of good
I like
rom-coms.
exactly 2 rom-coms. America's Sweethearts and The Proposal. And I would highly recommend America's Sweethearts. As very unrealistic as that is, it's hysterical. I mean, it
Are
has
there any
You
I
like
like?
the comic aspect then.
what?
I'm trying to think if there are any I like. I like Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which my boyfriend loves. He loves that movie. I like A Knight's Tale. I guess that's kind of a romantic comedy.
Okay, I like A Knight's Tale as well.
True.
And I like Hope Flows. I thought was a really good movie. I love that.
I think
it's
I like
Chinese.
You Got Mail.
It was okay.
I
kinda thought
liked
was
it,
okay.
but it's because of how much Tom Hanks movies. I like Tom Hanks as an actor.
By the way, before we continue, did you see the look on her face? Like, she looked like she was ready to just bite our faces off if we said we don't like that shit.
I know,
Not
right?
too bad.
I am gonna kick your butt if you don't.
Why do you make women sit around and talk about men in movies?
When y'all easily just sit around and talk about boobs for hours.
What? I, first of all, have never met a man who could sit around and talk about boobs for hours. Like, what are you even referencing? Like, what if you are around men who could sit around and talk about boobs for hours? I think you're around the wrong kind of men, because I know a guy personally. I know a guy who, in his heyday, was a man whore. Okay, he had enough women that he was into his higher double digits. And even he never sat around and talked about boobs for hours. It's not like he sat around and talked about all of the boobs that he'd been around, or all of the boobs of the women he'd slept with, or all of the boobs of the celebrities he'd really liked to sleep with. Like, what are you talking about? Why do you make women
Not
sit
even
around
good
and talk
thoughts
about
for
men
women to
in
see.
movies when y'all easily could sit around and talk about boobs for hours?
It sounds like they had like 2 questions that were sort of similar, and they decided to clip them together. But they
Maybe.
don't make. They were like contradictory at the same time.
You're
Like,
comparing
men
apples and
mostly-
you're comparing
Well,
apples and oranges. These
they
are
can-
apples and
yeah.
oranges questions.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of contradict. Like, oh, I have a problem with men making me sit around and talk about men for hours in movies, which doesn't make any sense. And then also, I have a problem with men sitting around for hours talking about boobs, which I question who she's hanging out with, who does that in front of women. Not the type of. I mean, maybe they do that privately when women aren't around, and fine, whatever. But if
Friends,
she's hanging
I
around
mean.
with men who are doing it in front of her, I question what kind of men she's hanging out with. But yeah, I think the problem with this question is it makes no sense because they clip 2 different questions together.
Yes.
I just question the quality of the people she's talking about.
That these women are talking about, yeah.
Mhm.
All right.
And the competence of the editor of this video is questionable as well.
Yeah, that's
So-
true.
Why do you automatically assume that you won't like TV or movies that star a female lead?
Why?
Oh, no. This goes back to our other segments that we've been talking about with Marvel and all that jazz. No, I have never met a guy. I have never met a guy who would hate a movie because it has a female lead. This goes back to the 2016. We talked about Cinema Massacre, who was slandered as saying that he wouldn't watch Ghostbusters 2016 because of the female cast, when he never said that. He said he wouldn't watch it because it looked like it was a sequel or of the same quality of Haunted Mansion. Right? He even said he liked those women who were acting in the movie. He just wouldn't go see it because it was not the movie that he wanted to see. you have these women who are slamming men. And I'm sure that there are probably some men out there who do say these things. I'm not saying that this does not exist. But I have never myself met a man who wouldn't watch Alien. I have never seen a man who wouldn't watch Angelina Jolie's Tomb Raider because she was a woman.
Find me one man who doesn't think that Aliens is the best sci-fi movie ever made.
Yeah.
I want to find that man.
Find me a man
who would disagree with that.
Find me a man who hated any of the Halloween movies who starred, let's say, Jamie Lee Curtis in them, just because it was Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
Find me a man who hated Friday the 13th just because the female murderer was there or the female protagonist was there. The reason why a man might not like a movie because of a specific female lead is maybe because of the fact that that person does not like that individual as an actress. I'll tell you right now, I would sooner unalive myself than watch a single movie Melissa McCarthy ever put out because she has one note. She is a one-level actress who plays the same shit over and over and over. If you watch one movie, you've practically watched every single movie she's put out because there's nothing new about her.
It's the same thing.
I don't like her acting. I don't like her acting. She has no ability to act outside herself.
Exactly. You don't have to like every female actress or every female character, but I bet you'd be hard pressed to find a straight man who doesn't love Angelina Jolie movies, like you said to your point about Tomb Raider.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about the actress, it's about their ability to act, and it's about the story. And that's the third part about it. If you want a really awesome movie where a lead actress does a really good job, you have to provide her with a good story, you have to provide her with a good character, and not just play the pussy card.
That's why
you can't Mary Sue her either, like we talked about. Like
I can't
Mary Sue her.
I can't even stand like Amy Schumer. Like I couldn't
Oh
even
my
like
god.
I couldn't like oh
well, apparently her
movies?
vagina smells like a barnyard animal.
What the hell?
She did
that.
My pussy smells like a small barnyard animal. Okay?
I don't care.
See a doctor about that. Don't tell me about it. Is that supposed to be funny?
It was supposed to be funny, yes. And this is the one where she looked like she was wearing. This is the one.
God.
This is the episode where she looked like she was wearing a BDSM special.
Oh yeah, I remember that. She had the all. Well, no wonder it smells that way in that leather outfit.
Thank God I don't like. I can't stand her. I saw it like one of her movies. I don't even remember because I don't even care which movie it was. I saw her. I was like, oh God. And every single time I see her, I just roll my eyes and be like, ugh. I had to Google her name just because I don't remember her name. I was like, who is this girl? Who was she? I really hate her. Okay, I don't like anything that she does. She's not funny at all.
Yeah, so really it boils down to you have to have a good story. You have to have a good actress. You have to have a good acting ability with this actress.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never seen a man who just didn't like a movie simply because of any nondescript female lead. If they don't want to see a movie that has Amy Schumer in it or who doesn't have who has Melissa McCarthy in it, then I would understand because those are two very specific individuals who are likable to some but very unlikable to others.
Are you surprised when women are funny?
I'm probably funnier than you.
You don't look funny.
Only when you're torturing yourself, because you know what? I know that you're not funnier than most men, lady. Miss Blonde Resting Bitch Face. You are not funnier than most men. I'm laughing at you with that comment, not with you. And to go to the other woman who spoke, why do you think men are funnier than women? Or why do you think women aren't funny? Maybe because they have jokes like my vagina smells like a small barnyard animal.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that might have something to do with it. That's the best comedic talent we can find in women.
I mean,
there are some women.
limited. Yes,
There are some women that are absolutely hilarious.
Lisa Lampanelli is hilarious. I love Lisa Lampanelli, but she can't do her comedy anymore because she's an insult comic. And
Carol Burnett was hysterical. Carol Burnett
Yeah.
was absolutely hysterical. But you know what? Again, in this day and age, she would not be able to pull off the humor that she pulled off back in the 90s and 80s.
Well, Lucy was a great comedian.
Lucille Ball, yeah.
Yes.
There's another woman who does the "I ain't doing it" with the Snapchat voice. Heather Land. She's hysterical.
Yeah.
I just don't know too many women who could go up there and tell their story, keep it straight, and at the same time, keep it funny.
I'm going to say something kind of controversial here. So Christopher Hitchens wrote an article in Vanity Fair like 2006, 2007 about this, where he said it was entitled Women Aren't Funny. And Christopher Hitchens has a real dry sense of humor, and he upset a lot of people, even though I think a lot of people are misinterpreting what he was saying. He wasn't saying all women aren't funny. He was just saying, statistically, we have less reason to try to be funny because we don't have to be funny to attract people to us. And men, if they can't be rich and they can't be good looking, then they can be funny.
have to be funny.
And that works for them. And as a result, more men are funny than women on average, like on a bell curve. But that doesn't mean women can't be funny. It's just that when you look at like who the greatest comedians are, they're mostly going to be men. I mean, look at Amy Schumer is like the best we can find in women comedy and female comedy to like, put up on stage and send on comedy tours. It's like the best we can do. So I think he had a point. I think a lot of what he said was misinterpreted. He wasn't saying there are no funny women or that women can't be funny at all. Just that we don't have to be.
And there is nothing on the God's green earth that's going to make me that this blonde right here is funnier than a guy.
She doesn't look like she has a funny bone in her body. I don't think she should be too judgy about what men think about her.
Why do you think that we're obsessed with you when we hook up?
9 times out of 10, I just want you to leave too. I'm busy. I got shit to do.
If you're busy, why are you in a date with him?
Isn't it part of the dating experience that you want to hang out with the person that you're wanting to be with? Like, why go out on a date if you have expectations that they're going to leave because you're busy, you got shit to do?
So see, I think there's a key word in here, which is hook up. I've never had a desire to just hook up with someone, so I can't really comment on this. I don't know how men act after a random hookup.
You're wanting to hook up with somebody. And why would you automatically assume that they just want to leave the moment that they're done with intimacy? Why would you kick somebody out your bed the moment that you're done doing an intimate hookup act? Because isn't the point of sleeping over actually sleeping as well? I mean,
I kind of like snuggling and sleeping. That's just my personal opinion.
or if we're not sleeping right after we're done hooking up, why don't we watch a movie and spend a little bit more time with you? Because if I like you that much that I'm willing to sleep with you, I would want to spend more time with you after that.
I'm a snuggler. I was
I
like,
like to snuggle.
I
I'm a good snuggler.
But then again, we're also not the type to just randomly hook up with somebody and then expect them to leave.
Let's say that her opinions do not represent the views of all women.
Or even most women. This is just a fringe group of Californians.
It must be.
Why can't I sleep with as many people as I want to without being judged? When men do it, they're congratulated.
Why?
STD. Oh, sorry.
Well, first and foremost, you've got to understand the difference between men and women. Women, all they have to do for a man to sleep with them is say yes. You don't have to go out and actually work that hard to get a man's attention. Do you realize what a man has to do to get as many women as a man does? They have to go out and they have to impress the woman. They have to treat the woman out to whatever that is that they practically want. They generally have to fork out some level of financial assistance on that level. Yeah. And then after all of their attempts, the woman could still say no and walk away. If a woman wants to get laid, all she has to do is go be attractive, and have a man look at her, and if he asks her, all she has to do is say yes.
Exactly.
And that's pretty much how it's won.
Along the way.
Several drinks along the way. But and here's the thing. When men do it, they're not really that congratulated. Do you realize that most, let's say, high school boys have not even been with one of those women that they've said they've been with?
Of course, they're just talking because
they're just talking shit because they want to rack up those numbers with men that they're not going to be friends with 10 years down the road. I can tell you right now, I had a boyfriend in high school. We had not even done anything, and he went around telling people at school that we had. I actually walked up to him, I jacked him up against the school locker, and I said, "You start telling people the truth that we didn't do anything, or I'll have your ass myself." And I did this in front of everybody in the school.
Oh, that's badass.
I jacked him up, and I told him, "We did nothing. I don't know why you are telling people that we did." And guess what? That shit stopped. So men often say things that they didn't actually do. And if men are having those high numbers, I can tell you that maybe on the surface other men might congratulate them, but most other men are not going to be looking at them and saying, "Yeah, that's a good thing." They'll be talking behind his back, wondering how many STDs he's passing around.
Yeah. Like, and the thing is, it's interesting, like she says, why I can't sleep with as many people, because it depends on how you grew up. And I mean, I never had the thought of, oh yeah, I want to have just hookups with as many people as I want. Like for me, that's just a cry for help. Like, you need to be checked out with, because that's ridiculous that you feel the need to hook up with as many people as you want, male or female.
I don't think it's a great thing for men or women to hook up with as many people as they
Exactly.
want. I don't think that that's something that I would aspire. I wouldn't be dating somebody or getting married to somebody who had that many conquests, because then you wonder, is this person really going to be satisfied settling down with a singular woman after this, or is he going to be cheating on me because his pecker's going to find greener pastures? Like, that's going to make me wonder. And then furthermore, any really decent guy is going to think the exact same way as
Of a
me
woman,
of you as a woman. Because any really good guy, now, you know, I was not, let's say, a virgin when I married my husband. And I told him about my previous encounters, which were few and very far in between, might I add. And he said, that doesn't really matter to me as long as you stayed clean, as long as you didn't get anything down there. And we're good. We're pretty much good after that.
Yeah.
And that's all there was to it, because he knows that I'm not going to just go around and possibly cheat on him because I found some hot thing out there that I want. When you are with that many sexual partners, it honestly makes you look in a way that, well, are you going to be able to stay loyal to me? I would think the same thing of a guy.
Why do you consider a woman a tease if she doesn't sleep with you after 3 dates, but a slut if she sleeps with you on the first date?
And who are you dating that is like this?
I mean, I guess these are like societal standards, and they are
Californian standards, because I've lived in many different states, and I've never met a single man who would think you're a tease after 3 dates of no sleeping, or a slut if you did it on the first date. I've never, and you realize, actually, a lot of their questions for men, do you realize that most of these criticisms that they're getting from people are from other women?
Yes.
That was what I was say about the last video, is I don't think she's being fair in how she's talking about the comparison, because she was talking about how men congratulate each other after they've, slept around with many women. But the judgment she's talking about is probably mostly coming from women or other men, which is not the same thing as men judging.
Yeah, because probably other women are like, why are you sleeping with a bunch of random guys?
I think too, the risk for women sleeping with someone, even on a third date, I feel like is way too soon, because you don't know who that man is, and he could be dangerous.
And if he thinks that you're a tease after that, if he thinks that you're a tease after the third date, then that's when you walk away and say, well, I wasn't really interested in doing this on the third date, even because I have values. And if you're thinking that I'm a tease for this, maybe we shouldn't even get together, because I'm not here to tease you. I'm here looking for a serious relationship. What are you looking for? A hookup? That's not me.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if you're dating men that say that after the third date, you're dating the wrong men. But let's just be real here. I don't know any men who are like that. I don't know any men like that.
Yeah, it's not circles I find myself in either. So.
In what world does no mean yes?
No means no.
No world, lady. And I don't know any guy who doesn't understand what no means. In fact, the same guy that I talked about before, the man whore, he would beat up any guy that assaulted a woman sexually. And then there are actually people out there. I can't remember where it was that I read this, but there have been situations where women expect the man to chase her. She'll say no, she'll say no, she'll say no, and then she'll get upset when the man walks away and is like, okay, she said no. She expected him to chase her. There are women out there that expect that. If there are men that think that no means yes, then that's because there are women that think, I'm going to play head games with him and see if he's still interested. Women play head games.
And just to play devil's advocate here, I will say that I think that there was something we're doing to young boys and men that is very confusing in media. Like, think about like the scene with Princess Leia and Han Solo, where she's like clearly making it clear she doesn't want to kiss him. I think she even says no, and he kisses her, and he's like, she calls him a scoundrel, and he's like, you like me because I'm a scoundrel. I think that's a bad message to send to boys and men. And it is a message that we send a lot.
Yes.
In fairness, in pop culture.
It is. It is.
Why do you say that women are too emotional to be leaders?
Then justify catcalling by saying men just can't control themselves.
If there are people who have said that men can't control themselves because they're catcalling, then they're just making excuses. Because men can't control themselves by not catcalling. I have never myself been catcalled, but
catcalled.
I have heard of women catcalling men too. That's another two-way street. Women do it too.
Yeah, catcalling is really uncomfortable. Not harmful in my experience. Maybe potentially, but it is really uncomfortable. I wouldn't say I appreciated it at any point in time. I don't think anyone's thinking they're being emotional when they're catcalling. They're
Yeah,
just
that's not an emotional response. That's
very different response.
That's lust.
But I don't get like emotional when it comes to being leaders. Like,
well, there is some kind of standpoint on that.
Yeah.
I mean, this is another one where it's edited together really weird, where it has you answering two different questions that don't relate to each other at all.
Yeah.
I mean, like this question in particular, because I think the question is why do we as a society value things that are more masculine, like leadership ability or the ability to set aside your emotions? Why do we value those things better or more in society than what women are women are naturally good at? Because I think women are naturally good at, we give life, we have children, but that's not valued in society as much as leadership skills. Now, how does that make any sense? So I think that would be the better question here if you wanted to have a discussion about like the differences between the way women and men are treated in society. I will say this about women. I do think men have qualities that make them better leaders. I don't think emotion has anything to do with it. I do think men are better at setting boundaries. That's kind of what we depend on them for in society, is to set boundaries.
Well, I do kind of think that we women tend to, I should say, we had this discussion in a previous segment where we obsess about things that are maybe years old, right? We do have a tendency to kind of attach ourselves to the things that happen around us, regardless of whether or not those things are factual, right?
And that's not a That's not a bad thing.
That's not necessarily a bad thing. We do need women to do that. But we do need women to be able, if they're going to be leaders, if they're going to be in politics and leading political parties, we need them to be able to have the capability of pushing their emotions aside to lead with logic.
The interesting thing is one of the qualities of being a leader has to be stay calm under pressure. And then if a person stays calm under pressure, they say you're not emotional, like you don't feel emotions. The person is probably eating himself inside. It's just that as a leader, you
have to
can't
compartmentalize that
show
shit.
it. Yes, and you can't show it. You can't show, like, if you show something to whatever, enemy or the person that you're taking care of, like as a leader, you take care of those under you. You're not going to show a weakness because then they're going to freak the fudge out. So why not? Like, a woman, I wouldn't be able to. I would be like freaking the hell out, like, oh, probably. So
Yeah.
but
You when the plane is going down focuses on getting the plane back in the air instead of I'm
Mhm.
gonna die.
Yeah.
exactly.
I don't really care if that person's a man or a woman, but that's what I would like in my pilot, please.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why do you think that just because you're nice to me, I owe you my body?
Actually, those guys that are nice to the women, to those kind of women, get more friend zone than
And
the
let me
jack.
tell you something. There are plenty of women out there who are pretty freaking entitled when it comes to men and their money. Like, because the guy spent money on them in the first date, they expect him to be able to spend money on them in everything. There are the nice women out there too, quote quote nice. That
Yeah,
is
again, there's so much nuance here because I do think there are two different types of nice guys, and there are nice guys that I stay away from. There are guys who will do things for you without you asking them to, and then act like you owe them something because they were nice to you. Those guys do exist. If you go read r/nice guys, that's the type of guys they're talking about.
yes.
Those are guys who are rightfully friend zoned and you should stay very, very far away from them. I wouldn't even be a friend with them. But I guess there's some women who will use them and continue to be friends with them, even though it's clear they're trying to manipulate you.
Yes,
And
but I'm not
those
saying
are
like not
people
all
you should stay
guys.
away from.
But
Yeah,
that's
not
not
all
all
guys.
guys. There
Not
are
all
some
guys.
legitimately nice guys who would simply, without expectation, do things that are nice that they do for you.
Why would you ever send an unsolicited dick pic?
Because you're a sexual deviant. That's why. Again, what men are you hanging out with? There's a real easy solution. You don't talk to that person anymore. Problem solved.
Yeah, the moment they send you a dick pic, you block them and move on.
There's something wrong with them. It's not all men.
I've never had a guy send me an unsolicited dick pic. Never.
Nope. No, I have not. I have not.
Why do you feel like it's okay to harass women or make offensive comments about women, but when somebody does it to your sister, it's not okay?
How does
The kind of guy who's going to get upset about someone doing that to his sister, I feel like.
It's
Probably
because
not
it's
the
his
guy who'd
sister?
do it. Yeah, it's because it's his sister. Yeah.
Here's the thing. I tease my husband. I mess around with my husband. I'll even make jokes that probably I would never make to any other guy in the world. But if somebody else messes with my husband, I'll tear them to shreds. It's because it's my husband. And if you think that women don't talk about men and don't talk shit about men in their private spaces, you've got another guest coming to you. Women tear each other to shreds. And women ogle men and talk about them like no tomorrow.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why we call them hen parties.
it feel to interrupt me when I'm in the middle of making
It feels pretty good, actually. Shut the up.
a point during a meeting?
You like how I did
Yeah, that does happen. Okay, so I work in a corporate environment. I will tell you this happens a lot, especially now that everything's on Zoom and you can't really always gauge when someone's done talking because there's a lag. But there is actually a really good reason women get interrupted more in meetings, and it's not on purpose. It's not malicious. It's that particularly men's hearing is more attuned to lower
Frequencies?
wavelength frequencies. Yes, and so they literally just don't hear us as well because we have higher pitched voices. And that's the case for men and women, but even more so the case for men. We are a little bit more attuned to higher frequency noises so that we hear children crying. So it's not to be mean. They can't help it. They literally can't hear you.
I just felt like interrupting that bitch because she's been pissing me off. And if you think that women don't do that to each other in the workspace either, if you think men absolutely never interrupt other men or bosses interrupting their subordinates in meetings, then you're just delusional. Because I'm pretty sure that happens all the time, right, Halo?
Doing it to each other this entire time.
Yes! Interrupting is just human nature. People tend to interrupt one another. Like, maybe they had... Huh?
Oh. Personally, I get really excited about things and I forget to wait my turn.
Like it just did?
Yeah.
Why do you have to sit with your legs so wide open?
Oh no! Oh no! Okay, let's play the whole thing because there's more to it than this one.
Oh, there's more to it than that?
Oh, there's more to it than this. I've seen this before.
You have to sit with your legs so wide open.
I get that you have balls, but I don't stand around with my arms wide open to make room for my boobs.
Not really the same thing.
Not the same at all.
Lady, are your boobs between your legs? Because if your boobs were between your legs, I guarantee you your legs would be spread.
Oh, I can't see them, so maybe she wouldn't have that problem. It's hard to tell.
Oh, Trey, harsh.
I don't get the whole spreading the arms. Like, what, Titanic style? I want to know if it's Titanic style
But
that she's spreading
She's
them.
also talking about two completely different areas of our
course,
anatomy.
yeah.
Our shoulders stick outwards and allow for our breasts to be in a different place. And I'll tell you right now, there are times when I have to squeeze my arms a little bit closer, and it is uncomfortable for my breasts.
It is. And
It's
we have bras.
It is absolutely uncomfortable for bigger chested women to push their arms closer together, which therefore squeezes their breasts. Lady, have you ever had a mammogram? Let me tell you, you are not going to be happy when those puppies get squeezed in a mammogram, and you're going to be feeling like you wish you had more room. Now take a look at where a man's balls lie. We get that you have balls. No, apparently you don't get that men have balls. You absolutely don't get that men have balls because
seem to really understand it.
a man's hips are a lot closer together than even a woman's hips because our hips are designed to open up for the birthing canal. If a man's hips were to try and spread to make room for a baby, their hips would literally break.
Yeah, they would. They would.
So our hips
wow.
are designed differently than a man's. So a man's balls are sort of in front of their legs, but sort of close by that if they don't sit appropriately, I have known men to sit on their own balls and then they are crying because they just crushed their own nuts.
Oh no!
It's amazing they can reproduce.
Oh, poor guys.
So you clearly don't get that men have balls. What the is that?
She doesn't even have boobs. Like, why are you spreading your arms that long?
Oh, is that what she's doing? She's spreading her arms for her boobs, but but I don't think she really needs to.
No,
she doesn't have any boobs to begin with.
She's got like a little A cup going on there.
Yeah, something like that.
Why are women perceived as the weaker sex, even though we literally birth you? Like watermelons through like this.
Watermelons?
Maybe because, first of all, birthing doesn't have anything to do with the physical strength of, let's say, our biceps. Biceps really have nothing to do with the birthing canal.
She's conflating two different words and what they mean. We are the tougher sex. But we are the weaker sex. You can be tough and still be weak.
And here's the thing. It comes back down to science. If you put a man and a woman into the exact same lifestyle, you give them the exact same meals to eat. You give them the exact same workout routines. They have the exact same jobs. You're going to still see the man develop more muscular tissue in his biceps, in his legs, abdomen. He's probably going to have a six-pack than you are going to see in a woman. It's because of the way that our bodies are just built differently. Men have more muscle mass than women, and that is a fact. So, this woman is completely conflating two different things and then trying to say that they're the same thing.
It's not, yeah.
A woman who can push out a baby through her vagina does not mean that she can pull up as many times as a man can do pull-ups, or push-ups as many times as a man can do push-ups, or even as well.
We have a higher pain tolerance, and we are generally more flexible.
Here's a good example of the disparity between men and women. I'm sure you guys have heard of American Ninja Warrior. American Ninja Warrior has been going on for at least, I think, a decade now, if not longer than that. But you have men who have to get through these obstacle courses. You got the initial stage, you've got the second stage, and then you've got the final stage. And they always say that the top, 100 individuals who make it through the first stage move on to the next, and then only the top 20 or 30 individuals that make it through the next stage move on to the final. Well, what they had to do, because no woman was making it into the top even 100 or top 30 or 20, they had to make a separate category to say the top so many women who make it into these categories as well, or in order to move on to the final one. And it took them all the way until 2015 or 2016 before a woman finally completed her first buzzer, because she just couldn't make it that far through the physical obstacles that they were putting these people through. And you had so many men who had completed these buzzers before her, and she was the first woman to do it all the way back in 2015 or 2016.
Surprising to me that they didn't just make a different obstacle course for women. It seems like such an obvious thing
they didn't do that because women wanted to perform at the same level as men. But you can easily see how they just can't. They had to make huge milestones and make a big deal out of the first woman to do this, the first woman to do that, because women were just not competing at the same level as men in American Ninja Warrior. You want an example of women not being stronger than men? You have nothing more to look at than American Ninja Warrior.
I think it's interesting she used the word perceive. We're not perceived as the weaker sex. We are the weaker sex. It's a societal construct.
It's a fact.
Weaker than men. It's just a fact. Yeah, it's science. It's a fact. It's not a perception.
Oh God, I can visualize the comments.
But this goes back. I think there's a lot of it's really interesting.
Yeah.
So with third wave feminism, and I'm assuming these are third wave feminists based on the questions they're asking here. With third wave feminism, there started to be like a lot of internalized misogyny happening with third wave feminists. Like suddenly it wasn't enough for women to have rights. Women needed to be men. And I don't know that like the suffragettes would agree with that statement. Like the real feminists who had to actually go out and fight for real rights. I think they knew that they were women and women were different and they were okay with that. But these women are clearly not okay with the fact that they're not men. I don't know why the best form of a woman is now a man. I don't understand that logic. Like, why can't we just love ourselves for being women?
Yeah.
Men love us for being women. They have no problem with us being women.
I guess other women just hate the fact that we love being women.
I don't know.
Why is it so bad to show your emotions?
It means you're human.
Maybe because we have feminists drinking from cups that say men's tears on them.
Exactly.
You have so many women saying, you need to suck it up, buttercup.
Actually, I read on I saw a video of this man who said, I just lost my marriage because I cried in a movie. Like literally, he explained that on a movie he started crying because well, obviously he felt moved. The wife saw him, and then he says that the following months, so it wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm leaving you because you're crying. No, it was the following months after her her seeing him cry, she started to distance from him completely. Like he would try to do certain things that he used to do with her, and she would just go away. And it was like either the women just think that the man is weak after showing those emotions,
Well,
and they just leave.
so I can understand why men feel that they have to not be that weepy and emotional. Because on some level, the women that they're with need them to be their rock, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is something that happens with some men, not all men, obviously, but some men where because they have to have their emotions, hide their emotions with other men and in society, they dump it all on their partner, and no one's equipped to deal with that. If you have to dump that much stuff on a person, you should probably just like see it shrink.
But at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, like I said, you have women who drink out of cups that say men's tears. You have women who mock men for being emotional.
Yeah.
Why are you always trying to prove your masculinity to me?
I've never met a man that had to prove his masculinity. I think the men who have to prove their masculinity to people are compensating for something. They're
Yes.
definitely lacking something in their lives that they feel that they have to prove otherwise. You can find women who do the exact same thing. It can go both ways. This is, again, it's not a man thing. I've never met a man who has to prove their masculinity. Again, who
She
the hell
did
are you?
She did say, why are you always trying to prove your masculinity to me? So maybe this is a personal problem with her.
Yeah, who are you hanging around with, and why are you hanging around with that if that is what's going on?
Why the isn't it ladylike to cuss? When did words get gendered?
Why?
Well, it's not exactly gentlemanly to cuss either. It's not exactly appropriate in a social setting to cuss no matter who you are and no matter what gender you are. I've never accused myself of being ladylike. I swear like a freaking sailor because I swear like a freaking sailor.
Yeah.
I've never really been the ladylike person who dresses up, goes out to social settings, wants to become a socialite, and then move up the social ladder.
Yeah, I mean, I still listen to my mom still says, "Why are you swearing so much?" Well,
Yes,
okay.
and then you have people who are women who are saying that. Again, why are you asking this question to men? It's women who would say that that's not very ladylike. It would be women who would be chastising you for not being ladylike.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard a man say, "Well, that's not very ladylike of you." My daddy used to just say, "Stop swearing."
Yeah, and
Don't
it's because
cuss.
it's your and it's because hello, it's like it's our parents. Our parents would want us probably because they still think like, hey, if you're gonna go professional, you're gonna do something with your life. Don't do that. And I get it, but it's mostly your parents.
Why is it your first instinct to doubt women who have been sexually violated or raped?
Why?
Because women keep lying about it.
Yeah, Amber Turd. Because there are all sorts of reasons why women lie. One of the reasons why a woman might lie about being assaulted is what if she cheated on her boyfriend with this other guy? The guy finds out, and then she tells the boyfriend to save her own ass that it was forced upon her. Teenage girl goes out and gets pregnant by a guy, then tells her parents because she doesn't want to get in trouble by them that, oh, she was sexually assaulted. These are actual reasons why people have lied in court. There was actually a threat. A guy got a text message. It was in a Reddit story, and I can't remember what it was. But a guy got a text message where if he didn't sleep with this woman, she'd threaten to tell people that he assaulted her. There are legitimate reasons why women lie about this to other people. and get people in trouble.
We have this thing called like a
And-
justice system where like you have to prove that you have to prove with beyond a shadow of a doubt that someone did something before you can like
Look at Brett
send them to
Kavanaugh.
jail for it. Yeah.
Look what almost happened to Brett Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
And she couldn't even remember, and she had people coming out against her that were with her in college that couldn't remember that particular incident happening because it didn't. You have people's careers being destroyed over allegations that may or may not be false. It's called innocent until proven guilty in this country. It's part of our legal system.
And you know what? Even if, I would hate it if, and it happens a lot, that women are assaulted and men get away with it because there's not enough evidence to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that anything happened against a woman's consent, and that's a shame. But I want those same protections if I ever get accused of something.
And here's the truth. Here's the truth for me. I would rather, if that happened to me, I would rather the guy get away than an innocent man being put in jail on a false accusation.
I agree.
And that is the absolute truth. I would rather an innocent man's life not be destroyed over my accusation of assault, over the chance that I could get it wrong.
Yep.
I'd rather my actual assaulter get away. Not that I think it's a good thing that he gets away. I think I would really be happy if he were to be imprisoned. But I know people who have been destroyed, whose lives have been completely altered over something that was either not true, half true, or exaggerated completely. And a person who's in prison for years over a false accusation are going to struggle when they get out. And if they only get out because of parole, then they have to go on a sex offense registry list for perhaps the rest of their lives, which means they can't live within certain distances to other places. They have to live within certain zones. You can easily find their name anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And people can go and find these people and beat them up. It prevents you from getting certain types of jobs because it's a felony. And can mean that all you can do is hard labor in places that need you, that don't care about the felony. And it means that it could be a much more difficult life for you if you have physical ailments too. People who are wrongfully accused of assault, of sexual assault, get their names dragged through the mud. We talked about this in a different segment where Halo said once some people get the first story, they'll stick to that story no matter how much the truth comes out later. Yeah. So you will have some people who will still, even though this person may have been vindicated, may have been released, it may have had a statement come out that says this person was wrongfully accused, their appeal worked, because of the fact that they were first initially accused, their name has been dragged through the mud, and some people will always believe that they were the ones that did this. People's lives have been destroyed over the Me Too movement. Look at what happened to Johnny Depp. A career was destroyed. There are plenty of men out there who have been assaulted too, and nobody ever believes them.
And to answer her question, it would be easier to just say because of the stupidity of other women doing those type of things.
They minimize and trivialize and take away from the actual victims of assault.
Yes. So that's to answer her question. Yeah, because
of other women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's not a men question. It should be a why would you lie about that type of thing to screw others up? So
Assume a woman's angry because she's on her period.
Why?
Because we get
Because
angry
we
on our
are.
period.
Because we are angry, we are uncomfortable, and guys are starting to learn. Like my husband goes and my husband goes and gets me the pads and the Motrin and everything. Like, here you go. Like, hi
Right
honey, here
around,
you go.
I am far more combative just a few days before, within a few days of starting mine. I am far more combative. I'm the kind of person who will look for a fight within days of having it because we are angry on our period.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean,
'cause
I'm the
your
depressed
big
one.
hormonal changes happen before you start
Oh,
your
It
period.
comes down to an
oh boy.
imbalance. You are literally, your body is literally going through a change where it has to shed the failure of a pregnancy, where it has to shed old hormones and has to do a complete change of hormones to build up a new uterine wall for a potential pregnancy for the next month. Your body is literally going through a physical and hormonal change. It's like a changing of the guard for the police. We
Yeah.
go through a complete shift. I don't know why this is even a question for men.
Why do you think women that wear makeup are false advertising? We can say the same thing about your dick size.
What?
Are you saying that men are putting contouring on their penises?
They're putting like what was it? Socks, like bundles of socks down there or something.
Look, okay.
Contouring work.
Look, it is false advertising when we wear makeup because we are literally doing something to our faces to make ourselves look more appealing. Have you ladies seen some of the face makeup videos where a woman completely makes herself look entirely 100% different that you wouldn't even believe that they were the same woman without that makeup on?
Yeah, I don't have that kind of makeup talent, but yes, I have seen.
I don't wear makeup at all because I couldn't do that to save my life.
I couldn't. Yeah, I don't. Very rarely. The only time I wear makeup is like when I stream because I don't want my face to be all shiny on camera.
The only makeup I put on, even then, all I put on was lipstick. Even when I stream.
I put foundation on to keep my face from being shiny, but then if you don't put on the rest of the makeup, your face looks like washed out. So then you have to put on blush and eyeshadow and lipstick too.
I don't
That's
own
the only reason
foundation.
I do it.
I don't even own foundation. But
wow.
See, here's the thing. A little bit of makeup. Let's say you just put the foundation on. You put the stuff that you described on. You don't look like a completely different person once that stuff is on.
No.
When you make a change to yourself, no matter how temporary or permanent it is, when you do something to yourself to make yourself more attractive, you are changing you in a way. You are changing how you look to be more appealing. By and large, the base of makeup doesn't actually change that. But there are some makeup specialists out there who are doing crazy things to themselves, putting in, fake eyelashes, contacts to change their eye color, wigs to change their hair around. These people use contouring, hours of makeup to look different than what they looked like before. In a way, that is false advertising. Yeah. That is not who you look like without the makeup.
I would even warn women. I would warn women, especially younger women, don't get in a relationship without disclosing your real hair color. It's probably not a good idea.
Don't get in a real relationship. Don't even get into a real relationship without the guy seeing your face without the makeup. You can do whatever you want to your body, but that doesn't mean you have to like the consequences of what other people decide what to do with the real information. But then back to the dick size. What are you talking about? Men patting their dicks?
I don't know what she's talking. It doesn't even. Again, was that another edited one together?
Wait. They're doing contour to their dicks, like the guys are actually.
Yeah, so men are putting
everything.
They're getting Kim Kardashian's contouring kit.
Enlarge your penis.
Without the need of surgery.
I've never met a guy who, falsely advertised his dick size. So again, this goes back to who the hell are you hanging out with?
Yeah. I agree.
Why isn't it weird that there's a bunch of old white men sitting in a room making legislation about what I can and can't do with my body?
Because you vote them in.
Exactly.
I mean,
you
imagine
vote.
if it wasn't for the fact that there were a bunch of white men sitting in Congress voting, women still might not have the vote today. It was a bunch of white men who voted to allow for the suffragettes and other women around them to start voting.
It
So
wouldn't have happened without white men getting on board. So
Yeah, but
and we're the ones that continue voting white men in, probably because they
Yeah.
have the better policies than the women we have seen trying to get into politics lately.
have you? Yes. Yeah.
It's all because we vote them in. That's the simple answer. Why is this a question for men? Women, if you want women to be in office, vote for the women. But then again,
Exactly.
find women that you agree with.
I mean, I feel like this is a really weird question for men now that you mention it. It didn't even occur
Yes.
to me. Oh yeah, this is supposed to be a question for men, and I'm really not
It's
sure
not
how
like
men fit into
society.
that.
Like, should be a question about society. Why do you keep voting men? Men in there to choose for things that women should choose for? I don't know. It's kind of weird.
This is just a little bit of a nitpick, but this woman's necklace is absolutely bothering the shit out of me. It's supposed to be a choker.
Oh, well, she doesn't want a good choke.
Yeah,
then.
look at that. It's got like a little gem or something in the middle of it.
And it looks
but,
all
like,
crooked because she's not wearing it right.
Yeah, that's weird.
Do you have a coochie?
Why are
Well, if you ask Dylan Mulvaney.
straight guys so obsessed with lesbians?
Shuan Head did this one pretty well. She held up one Barbie and said, "Oh look, a lady." Held up another Barbie. "Oh look, another lady." And then she started smashing them together on screen. Men like lesbian porn because it's two women that they're interested in.
They like women.
They like women. If you like one chocolate candy bar, why wouldn't you like 2 chocolate candy bars?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have any chance with it. You could probably ask them why are they interested in women they clearly have no chance with.
Yeah.
But if it's just
mean-
watching porn, that's a different thing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, if it's watching porn, that's kind of different.
Does it feel to get kicked in the balls?
Do you ever
I would imagine it feels probably very badly. I've been kicked in the vagina and it feels like shit.
Yeah.
And imagine like a man with that hanging outside. Like for us, might hurt. Obviously, it hurts, but for them, it's like I don't know. It would be worse.
I think this is the only legitimate question that women have for men. That these women have for men.
Yes.
ever get
Legitimate
tired of
question.
trying to be manly all the time?
Why are we re-asking the same question? What of this other person that asked, "Why do you have to prove your masculinity to me?" Why? Do you, and then this question. It seems like the editor should have put these two questions together instead of separating them this far into the video. But like,
They established the editor is like totally incompetent. Is
but this entire question goes. It's asked and answered.
Mm-hmm.
Men don't have to just. I could ask you the same question. What is it? Oh, well, I can't ask her the same question. She looks like she's trying to be butch over there. But let's ask Blondie over there. What is it like to try and be feminine all the time? Don't you get tired being feminine all the time? I mean, what the hell is wrong with this question? Like, why ask that question? It's just who they are. It's part of who they are. They're men.
it's interesting, yeah. It kind of brings up that idea that like gender is performative.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
you have
if
to
you ask
perform
Dylan Mulvaney,
gender.
gender is performative.
but it's not.
But it's
just
not.
who you are.
Why are you so afraid of gender equality?
Why do I deserve to be
Oh no, we're gonna get into the freaking wage gap myth.
Yeah, well, you know what? I heard Amala talking about this last night, and I know you like her. I like her.
Yeah.
But she was going on about this, like how women deserve to be paid the same amount of money as men in female soccer. She's talking specifically about female soccer. It's like, no, they don't deserve to be paid as much as men in soccer because no one watches women's soccer except for like once a year. Literally, the franchise would just go out of business if they paid women.
To the first woman asking her question, this woman, nobody is afraid of equality. Men are not afraid of equality, but women are not exactly wanting equality anymore. They're wanting equity. They're wanting equality plus something extra for women. So anyway, let's go on with the question here.
Why do I deserve to be paid less than you?
In what world does 77 cents equal $1?
In what world does 68 cents equal $1?
Wait, what?
Okay, they can't even get on the same page over the answers that they're giving. In what world is 77 cents and now she says 68 cents? Which is it, 77 cents or 68 cents?
It's 68 cents for a black woman and 77 cents for a white woman. And that's what they're trying to portray there.
Oh.
But here's the thing. The wage gap. Okay, Shoe on Head had a really good little video on that. And it's been debunked over and over and over. The wage gap is a myth. It's more of an earnings gap, and it has primarily to do with women's choices and a lack of clarity and transparency on what constituted the different job descriptions in the wage gap. I actually have done some research on this one. I feel qualified to answer that. The wage gap does not clarify the different types of jobs, the different types of hours, the different types of sub jobs within those jobs. We talked about crabbing vote, for example, earlier. It would not discriminate a crabbing vote from a less dangerous job. Let's talk about doctors, for example. There are some doctors. There are some types of doctors, for example, like pediatricians or gynecologists, who might be more predominantly geared for women to become those jobs, whereas men might be more inclined to be neurologists, surgeons, cardiologists, and other types of jobs. But the wage gap does not clarify which of these jobs was more higher paying for women or which of these jobs was more geared towards women or men as a career. I would think that a woman would not want to be on call for surgery practically 24/7, living at the hospital, essentially. I would think that a woman would not want to negotiate working 60 plus hours a week instead when she can work for a little bit lower pay for 40 hours a week. Women generally tend to be not as good as negotiating higher wages for competitive work. This has been studied. I know I would have a harder time negotiating when I would just be thankful to get a job. The wage gap would be more similar if they took it and split it into two different categories and compared men with families to women without families, and then men without families to women with families. Men who have families tend to want to pick up more hours at work because they feel like they are the providers for their families. So they want to work more so that they can make more. Women who do not have families, who do not have children, generally tend to be more open to longer work hours because they don't have families to come home to, because they can then save up that extra money and buy trinkets that they want, spend more on themselves, and do more that they want to do in their free time. Whereas men who don't have families, they tend to want to leave the work more, to do their own thing more, whether they want to play games, whether they want to go on a road trip, whether they want to do this, that, or another. When men don't have families to provide for, they tend to take fewer work hours, they tend to take lower pay, just so that they can have more fun time. Women who have families, who have children, tend to want to work less hours because they want to be there for their children. They want to spend time with their kids, be able to cook, clean, and get stuff done, be able to keep organized, and just enjoy their life with their families because they don't have to work that hard anymore. So if you were to compare the wage gap in two different groupings like that, you would find a large change, and the wage gap would almost virtually disappear.
How is that fair?
Why are you intimidated by a woman who makes more money than you? That's awesome. More money.
If a man is intimidated by it, it's because he was always taught that he had to be the breadwinner of the family. Men innately want to be our protectors and the ones that provide for us. In Native American times or in other tribal times, generally speaking, women tended to be the cultivators while men tended to be the hunters, bringing home food for the family. Men have always been pretty much pushed into this, you're the one that needs to provide the more food, the more money. You look at older shows like Leave It to Beaver, where she was the homemaker, he went out and did his job and provided for the family. Men who are intimidated by a woman who makes more money, they feel that way because they are feeling emasculated by not being able to be the provider.
I mean, and a lot of men, they want to provide for their family. They want to be, it's natural, just like
it's instinctual.
Women want to have children. Men want to be providers for their families. It's very instinctual, yeah.
So if there are men who feel that way, then that's why.
My boyfriend's like super happy when he's making more money than me. He would be perfectly happy with me making less money just so he can make more money than me. It's not anything serious. It's just something we joke about. Like, he'd be super happy if I made less money. So, if that's what it took for him to make more money and we had less money combined, as long as he's making more money.
Why are opinionated women seen as bitches?
When opinionated men are seen as bosses.
Opinionated men are seen as punk-ass bitches, too.
Nobody asked for your opinion. Stop giving your opinion when it wasn't asked.
Exactly.
Problem solved.
Mind your business.
Men don't necessarily... I mean, I've known men who are very soft-spoken and very quiet when it comes to that. They don't tend to give their opinions as much. But it also happens to be the way it's delivered. If you give your opinion and you're a total bitch about it, who the wants to be around you? And opinionated men, nobody really wants to be around them either because they're seen as nowadays mansplaining.
Toxic, being toxically masculine.
Yeah, so I don't know where your question is coming from. Opinionated men are not seen as bosses.
Why aren't you speaking up when you hear your male friends behind closed doors make jokes that are offensive to women?
Why aren't you speaking up when your female friends make jokes about men behind closed doors that are offensive to men?
Oh, yeah, women definitely do that all the time.
And women do that all the time.
Even against other women.
And why should men have to speak? And why should men have to speak about that? Maybe they're taking out their frustrations on the women around them. If I was a man and I had to be your friend, I'd be talking about you all day, Blondie.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, we all do it. It's not like we're saints. We've all done it before. Like, it's normal.
And if you're not there to hear what they're saying, why the do you care so much?
Exactly.
Why are you so afraid of recognizing your own privilege? Doesn't mean you're a bad person. Just recognize it and do something about it.
What exactly are you expecting anybody to do anything with their quote privilege? What are you talking about privilege? And who are you to talk about privilege? Women are the most privileged category on this entire continent. Women are so much more privileged because women can get away with doing a lot more things than men can do. Women can hit a man in public, and a man can't do anything to a woman in public without being seen as an abuser. Women often get child custody.
There is a group of people who gets more privilege like that than women do. And it's not women. So, I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, well, women still get more privilege than men.
Yeah.
Straight up.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
So we'll leave that there, and thankfully this is the end of the video. So
oh my God.
That was
my brain hurts.
Yeah.
Thanks for geeking out with us this week.
If you enjoy our content, please like, share, and subscribe.
Stay tuned for our next segment.
Bye.